What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with a preview of the update coming to Destiny 2 on May 6th. And this update is basically going to bring Into the Light 2.0, or essentially the closest thing we've had to that. And we're getting Rite of the 9, which we already know a little bit about. We'll go into more details about it today. Additionally, the new PvP game mode, which is Heavy Metal. But Bungie are going further than that, introducing some new rewards for particular playlists. There'll be some new weapons, plus Sandbox tune-in, where we have a few updates, and given that we get the reveal for Edge of Fate as this goes live, it's also possible that pre-order bonuses for the next expansion could be in the game next week as well. So we're going to round up everything worth knowing. If you enjoy this one, get subscribed to the channel, but otherwise, let's get into it. First thing to say, immediately before the May update goes live on the 6th, 1 hour before reset, there will be a reveal for the Edge of Fate expansion, so Bungie will be live streaming this. It'll be our first look at the new content, which in itself will be very exciting. Obviously, there'll be some degree of connectivity between this and Rite of the 9. Now, we've known about pre-order bonuses for Edge of Fate for a little while. Reportedly, that will include New Land Beyond, an updated version of No Land from D1, and it's worth bearing in mind that generally, as Bungie announce a new expansion, pre-orders actually go live more or less immediately, so we might see that happen next week on Tuesday. Obviously, it isn't 100% guaranteed, but it is very likely that the pre-orders will go live. So if No Land Beyond is going to be a weapon associated with that, we could be using it in just a few days. Other pre-order bonuses appear to include an emblem called External Sights, the Astral Cartography exotic E-mode, and a ghost shell, which is the anisotropic shell. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see, but it's just something worth briefly mentioning. We'll talk about Rite of the 9 and other activity things momentarily, but Bungie did outline that they're introducing 3 new weapons which will be added to particular activities. At this precise moment, we know that Iron Banner will be one of those activities, so if you have any Iron Banner engrams ahead of the update, Bungie have indicated it's worth holding on to some, as it may help you get that new weapon when Iron Banner returns on May 24th, so keep that in mind. And for the weapon itself, it'll be called Nature Reclaimed, and it's a solar lightweight scout rifle. Interestingly, there was a leak for an Iron Banner weapon model created by a Bungie developer a few weeks ago, so potentially that's this one, given that it is a scout rifle. In terms of perks though, Column 3 can get Killing Wind, Outlaw, Heal Clip, Lone Wolf, Rapid Hit, and Shoot to Loot, with the last trait slot able to get Desperate Measures, Kill Clip, Incandescent, as well as Precision Instrument, Box Breathing, and Explosive Payload. So a couple of interesting roles for that one. Otherwise, the Inquisitor will return for Trials of Osiris. That's an arc precision slug shotgun, and the first trait slot can get Envious Assassin, Lone Wolf, Offhand Strike, Loose Change, Perpetual Motion, Slide Shot, and Threat Detector, with Column 4 able to get Bait and Switch. Closing Time, Cascade Point, Fragile Focus, Jolting Feedback, Opening Shot, and Precision Instrument. And Trials will return on May 13th for the first time after the update. The 13th is actually the weekly reset, so I'm assuming Bungie meant the 16th, which will actually be the Friday. Otherwise though, there is a new Nightfall weapon, which is the Cruel Mercy. This is an arc heavy burst pulse rifle. Interesting archetype choices here, but Column 3 on that can get Dragonfly, Demolitionist, Eddy Current, 4th times the Charm, Keep Away, and Lone Wolf, with Column 4 able to get Jolting Feedback, Adrenaline Junkie, Headseeker, Frenzy, Kill Clip, and Desperado. And for the week of May 6th, when the update drops, Bungie have said Lotus Eater will be the featured Nightfall weapon again, so that's nice, but additionally, for every Lotus Eater Adept that we get dropped, we'll also get a Cruel Mercy Adept dropped, so next week's going to be a very good week to farm for the new Nightfall weapon, as well as Lotus Eater if you're still after any good rolls. So give us your thoughts on those weapons down below. Otherwise, in the update itself, there will be a bunch of sandbox changes, quite a few which apply to abilities, and some minor adjustments to legendary weapon archetypes, so I'll link a video down below that has a full breakdown of the sandbox update for this patch. But looking at exotic tuning a bit more specifically, Lord of Wolves is going to get a nerf in PvE, where they're reducing hipfire damage by 30%, so that weapon's going to take a pretty significant hit really. There's a minor change to Risk Runner as well, increasing zoom from 13 to 14. Plus Bungie are increasing the amount of ammo picked up from ammo crates in Crucible from 1 to 2 on both Truth and Two-Tailed Fox. And for Alethanim, they've said creating a special ammo brick will now only cost 50% of the weapon's energy, and they've reworded the Vestigial Alchemy trait to be a little less confusing. On top of that though, there's a buff to Finality's Augur, where they're increasing the duration that a target is painted to match the duration of the turret, plus it will mark additional targets that enter the zone after the initial creation, and it'll grant an automatic reload from reserves after deploying a turret, with turret's outgoing damage increased by 10% and a reduction to self-damage by 85%, which is pretty significant. So so nice to see that weapon getting some changes for those who have it. Otherwise though, if you're curious about the rest of the Sandbox updates in this patch, I'll link a full breakdown of them down below. Next up though, let's talk about activity content. And Rite of the Nine is the main activity for this update, where Bungie are focusing on Prophecy, Spire of the Watcher, and Ghosts of the Deep. And each week that Rite of the Nine is active, one of those dungeons will be featured with 3 different difficulty modes. So there'll be an Explorer version, which is the easiest version of these dungeons, designed for newer players, or indeed solo players potentially, and for the first time it will include tooltips that actually give players indications of what to do, and tips for particular mechanics, so that'll be interesting. But there'll also be an Eternity mode, which is basically a standard difficulty for the dungeons, and then Ultimatum mode, which will be akin to contest level difficulty. And from that difficulty, of course, we'll get Adept versions of the updated dungeon weapons. There are a total of 12 weapons that'll be featured throughout the event, 4 for each of the dungeons, and you can see them on screen. Additionally, the third spire will return as the social space for this event, and we'll be able to visit the Emissary of the Nine here to pick up bounties. There'll also be weapon attunement available, so we can focus for specific weapons to drop more regularly, plus any other quests and objectives will likely be housed on the vendor here as well. The only thing we don't really know is the running order for Rite of the Nine. Perhaps it'll be revealed ahead of the launch in Bungie's stream next week, but keep in mind one dungeon will be featured at a time, so we'll have an entire week to focus on farming for rewards or getting a completion in Ultimatum. I feel like Prophecy will be the obvious starting point, but we'll simply have to wait and see what we get. The other part to talk about for the May update is that it will introduce a new game mode called Heavy Metal. Now this is the Briggs vs Drakes PvP mode, so vehicle combat being featured more heavily once again. It will work much like Supremacy, so destroying an opposing vehicle will score 1 point, but it'll also drop a coin, and when you collect that, it's an additional 1 point. Plus collecting the coins will replenish health and secondary weapon ammo, and the current leader of the match will glow and has improved dodge. But defeating them will drop a gold coin, and collecting that will score 2 points. Then the first team to score 50 points will win. There'll be a bunch of daily and weekly challenges associated with Heavy Metal, as well as a rank system, so I think there's going to be 15 ranks. We'll earn experience for the game mode by playing it, of course, and those ranks will have specific rewards associated with them. And this is what Bungie are calling an event home, so it's kind of like an event card, but more populated with gameplay rewards. Although there will be a way to re-roll the challenges that are featured, and I think that will be a microtransaction currency, but otherwise, this is much more gameplay focused than the typical event card. So outside of Heavy Metal, Bungie have said they will apply this event home system to upcoming annual events like Solstice and Festival of the Lost that we'll see later on in the year, so this is basically going to be the new way of playing through events, and Heavy Metal is technically considered to be an event. We should mention though, Heavy Metal won't go live immediately on May 6th and will instead drop on the 9th, a few days later, so that's going to give us a little bit of time to check out Rite of the Nine first. And so there we go guys, this is a reasonably significant update, bigger than what we typically see as a late season update. Of course, it's tiding us over to when we actually get the expansion, and all of the details for that expansion presumably will be available starting on Tuesday. So things are about to get busy, but give us your thoughts down below, any impressions you have on the upcoming content or the reveal itself. If you've enjoyed the video, a rating really does help us out as well. But otherwise, thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.